Hey, I'm Digitrailz, and are you looking for a way to hide your base? Are you looking for a way that you could basically just have a secondary base under your base where you could basically just throw an item into a well and have a door open up just at your whim, and you could just drop down into a base that's underneath it where you don't have to walk down some stairs, and then you're good to go. And then when you climb back up out of your base, you're able to then basically close up the door and make it so that no one is none the wiser? Well, let me show you how this door works. At least how this part works, but I'll show you the whole thing at least so that you can replicate it or at least take it apart and use it to your means. Let's get started. Okay, so let's start with the key system, basically the system that will allow you to enter. This is going to be nothing too revolutionary. It's basically just an impulse uh, filtering system. But basically, what we're going to do is you could hide this in a well, or you could do anything like that. You could also basically put a hopper minecart underneath a block if you really want to. But essentially, anything like that will get you where you want to go. The reason my door in my world takes so long is because I actually have a lot of hoppers in it due to the constraints of my world. What we're going to do is we're actually going to build this out a little further out because if you wanted to, say, have it filter out to another box, so if you hadn't anyone put anything else into the well, you can collect it. You can go from there, but then let's go ahead and then essentially have the hoppers feed off in one way, and then you basically can have the hopper feed off that way. These are just temporary blocks, so they can be dealt with. And then what we're going to do is put a piece of carpet off that way, or any block really, but I'm just using carpet to demonstrate it. We are going to use a comparator, which I forgot to grab. And we're going to have the comparator facing out that way. We're then going to come out with blocks, 2 blocks out like this, out like that, down like that. We're then going to do 1, 2, block like that. We're going to use redstone repeater and then redstone torch. This is not my design. This is an basically Impulse SV's design of a redstone hopper or redstone filter. We're then going to put another hopper underneath. Basically, what ends up happening is this goes down. We are then going to, in here, this is where you would put in your key item. So in this case, in mine, I use, you can really use anything. I use warped wart. You could use whatever you want. In this case, we will use, let's pick just redstone. So we would use redstone. We'd want to put in 48, and then you basically want to put some form of filter item, one of each filter item into there. Once that's done, you can then basically use this to then filter off the next section. But this is basically the filter key. So then whenever you put your key item into this, it gets picked up and it gets filtered out down to here. Next, we're going to be building the system that allows the door to open and close. In this case, we're basically just going to push this out a few blocks. And we're basically going to put a chest right here. We're then just going to put that right there. And then we're just going to put a block there and put this, by the way, this hopper chain can be as long or as short as you want. Just remember with both of these along the hopper chain, the longer the opening time. So then basically put a comparator, put a repeater, and have that going out with some redstone dust. Then what you want to do is we're going to get rid of some of this because it's just here for reasons. And we're then going to want to have another chest down here and a hopper. And what we're going to do is have a block like that, come out like that. And we're going to put a redstone torch there so that if a item comes in here, stays in here, and triggers the redstone. And that is the system that lets this know that the door is supposed to be open. Now this is where the real fun begins. Okay, so now we need to invert this signal so that essentially what it will do is if there's a redstone signal comes in, this goes off. Now, what we want to do is have this go up. And then what we're going to end up doing is feeding that into a piston. You can feed that however you want. And then what we're going to end up doing is basically covering it up. So let's say you just kind of want to grab, we will just grab some stone. And we'll just cover it up. So it's like on a cliff face or something. Whichever, however you want it to be. Mine is grass, but you can have it on a cliff face. Whatever you want. Whatever floats your boat. Okay. Now, so whenever you add in an item, it opens it up. Now, this is where the fun begins because we add in just below it. Times off. We throw this in here and we have the twisted vine that comes up. We want to make sure that next to the twisted vine, there is a dispenser that has a bunch of bone meal in it. You can, if you want to create some form of way of bringing a hopper chain in here with a bunch of bone meal, whatever you want to do, that is fine. But what you want to do is you need to then bring off this signal another line over to here that then is read by at least one repeater. So it takes at least 1 to 2 ticks. It just has to come after this opens up. Comes over here, is read by an observer, and you just put a block there. And then it'll open up. So let's give it a close. And so when it closes, those items go away. But if we throw in an item, it opens up, and you have a way down and you have a way up when you come in. Now, for the closing mechanism, while you're outside, you could set some form of button that's hooked up to the closing mechanism. That's fine. Well, now let's set up the closing mechanism from the outside. Okay, now for the closing mechanism, what you want to do, put down a campfire. And again, you can set this up, this type of closing mechanism, however you want, but this is a type of closing mechanism. Then basically what you can do is let's keep the mechanisms separate colors. Then what you want to do is put a block underneath the observer. Then outside of the observer, put a repeater on vortex. And then basically just feed a line over to that redstone torch. And then we basically just need to feed a redstone line down to here. What that will do is whenever after this is opened, any update to the campfire between turning it on and off will allow you to basically close it. Takes a second. There we go. I don't know why it didn't want to fire off that time, but apparently it just needed to be updated. Okay, there we go. So it will turn it off. Open it up one more time. Opens up. And let's grab a shovel and show it turning off one more time. There we go. I don't know why it didn't want to go off that last time, but you can still turn it off and on, and it won't have any consequences towards it. So it still acts like it. And just to hide the observer, what you can do is basically just put some trapdoors around it. And then just put these around it, and it makes it sort of hides the observer, and someone would have to really, really look for it. And that way you can kind of just hide it within your base. And that's how you build this. So I hope you find this redstone tutorial useful. I hope you are able to take at least one or two pieces of this and find a way of integrating it into one of your redstone contraptions. This wasn't really meant to be a 100% every piece of this is used as a way of integrating it into your redstone build. This is meant to be you take pieces of it and integrate it in yourself. I'm not the best redstoner, but I'm able to tinker and get awesome things like this. This was built out of massive amounts of trial and error, and I'm really, really happy with it. But if you guys like what you see, feel free to subscribe, because this was born out of my Trailz craft series. And if you want to see more, like this video, and hopefully I'll be able to produce some more videos like this in the future. But I'll see you guys later, and remember, when you're out in the digital trails, watch out for digital bears. Bye for now.